Are ketones the most ideal brain fuel? That's what many influencers on the internet are saying. So is there any scientific validity to that argument? Or are ketones a recipe for long-term health problems? Well, in this video, I'll tell you exactly what you need to know to end the confusion about how to optimize your brain health in the long term using your food as medicine. With the rise of the ever-popular ketogenic diet, there's now a raging war over which fuel helps your brain run optimally. And this war between glucose and ketones keeps getting larger with every passing day. So in this video, we'll learn the science behind these two brain fuels. We'll discover the benefits of ketosis, and you'll understand why the short-term benefits of ketosis, spoiler alert, suggests that you maybe reconsider eating a ketogenic diet in the long term. Now, your brain is arguably the most important organ in your entire body. So don't you want to be feeding it high-octane, clean-burning fuel? If so, let's find out. I'm Cyrus Khambatta. I've been living with type 1 diabetes since the year 2002. And I've been coaching people to manage and reverse diabetes by distilling complex scientific information into easy, simple to understand truths that have changed the lives of more than 10,000 people that we have directly coached. I also co-wrote the New York Times bestselling book, Mastering Diabetes. So if you are ready to master diabetes and control your blood glucose permanently, then let's get started. So first off, your brain oxidizes between 25 and 40% of your total energy expenditure, which means that your brain is one of the most energy demanding tissues in your entire body, aside from your skeletal muscle. And even though you may have been told that ketones are your brain's preferred fuel source, make no mistake about it. Glucose is your brain's preferred fuel source. There are only 3 molecules that can be oxidized for ATP or energy in the human body, and that includes glucose, fatty acids, and amino acids. Technically speaking, alcohol or ethanol is the 4th fuel that can be oxidized for energy, but we're gonna exclude alcohol because it's complex and it's actually beyond the scope of this discussion. Now, all tissues have the ability to oxidize some combination of glucose and fatty acids and amino acids for ATP. And each tissue is unique in which fuels it oxidizes and under what circumstances. So think of it as though each tissue has 3 fuel tanks, and each tissue can decide which fuel tanks it wants to use at every single moment in time, depending on a number of factors, including things like temperature, oxygen availability, nutrient availability in the blood, the amount of stored fuel inside the cellular environment, intensity of exercise, the presence of inflammatory processes, and much, much more. Now, to add to the confusion, some tissues, like your muscles and liver, can store glucose and fatty acids, and your adipose tissue can store fatty acids, and your kidney can store small amounts of glucose. And now you have yourself a good old-fashioned metabolic circus, which requires an advanced degree to fully understand. Now, your liver and muscle are constructed differently than your brain. They can both uptake glucose on demand, and they can oxidize that glucose on demand for ATP, and they can store glucose in a structure known as glycogen. And glycogen is a storage depot of glucose. You can think of it as a Costco warehouse of glucose that exists to ensure that you have enough energy available inside of your liver and muscle at all times. Now, your liver and muscle also have a storage warehouse of fatty acids known as triglyceride, and that functions similarly to glycogen in that it's a backup warehouse, but this time of lipid energy, not of glucose. The truth is that it's mind-bogglingly complex to determine which tissue is using which fuel at which moment in time. But the good news is that your brain is a bit different, and in some ways, it's actually a bit simpler. Now, unlike your liver and muscle, your brain is very unique in that it has no mechanism to store glucose or fatty acids or amino acids or ketone bodies. Your brain must uptake fuel on demand from your blood 100% of the time, and it must oxidize fuel on demand 100% of the time. The question then becomes this: which fuel is ideal for your brain, both in the short term and in the long term? Is it glucose or amino acids or fatty acids or ketone bodies? To answer that question, we'll have to dig just a little bit deeper. Pick up any biology textbook and you'll find that glucose is your brain's preferred fuel. Even though people on the internet like to make ridiculous claims like your brain is made of fat, so feed it fat, or your brain is made of cholesterol, so feed it cholesterol. Under no circumstances can your brain uptake fatty acids or amino acids or lipids from your blood. It just cannot happen. Under normal circumstances, your brain uptakes and oxidizes glucose and glucose only for 99.99999% of the time, because that's the fuel that it's designed to operate on for the majority of your life. Your brain has no mechanism to oxidize amino acids for ATP. Your brain has no mechanism to oxidize fatty acids for ATP. Your brain also has no mechanism to oxidize cholesterol for ATP. Your brain can only operate on two fuels, glucose and ketone bodies, when glucose is limited. That's it, period, end of story. Now, when glucose is readily available in your blood, your brain will oxidize glucose for energy. That's how it's designed. But when glucose is limited, then your liver creates a magical backup fuel for your brain. And these magical backup fuels are known as ketone bodies. These ketone bodies are created by breaking long chain fatty acids into short chain fatty acids, and then by manufacturing these compounds called acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate, and acetone. Don't worry, that's not going to be on the quiz. Two of these compounds, acetoacetate and beta hydroxybutyrate, are metabolized by many tissues, including your liver and your muscle and your brain, as an alternate fuel source. But this only happens when glucose is in limited supply in your blood. Now, when people talk about the ketogenic diet, they're referring to an intentionally low carbohydrate diet that limits the amount of available glucose in your blood, which is specifically designed to force your liver to manufacture ketone bodies as an alternate fuel for your brain. In other words, ketosis occurs when glucose is in low supply. And the easiest way to do that is to eat a low carbohydrate diet, or a ketogenic diet, or a carnivore diet, or to fast for extended periods of time, usually in excess of 24 hours. Now, just for full clarification, it might sound a little bit confusing because there's two terms that use the word keto. One of them is ketosis and the other one's ketoacidosis. They're both caused by increased ketone body concentrations in your blood, but ketosis occurs when glucose is limited and can be very helpful, while ketoacidosis is actually a life-threatening condition. Diabetic ketoacidosis, otherwise known as DKA, occurs when you are insulin deficient state. This usually triggers this is the signal for the onset of type 1 diabetes. And that results in extremely high blood glucose values with liver ketone production, extreme thirst, fatigue, and unexplained weight loss. This video focuses on ketosis, not ketoacidosis. So let's be very clear about that, okay? And this entire channel is about providing tips that improve your lifestyle. So if you're living with any form of diabetes, just click below and hit the notification bell to get all of the newest information that will help you improve your overall health today and into the future. Now let's get into ketones. The ketogenic diet was actually discovered as a way to reduce seizure incidence in young children. In a study published in 2004, researchers investigated 129 children who were 5 to 6 years of age that were diagnosed with a form of epilepsy known as intractable epilepsy, which is hard to treat with traditional seizure medication. They put them on a ketogenic diet to investigate whether an increased intake of lipids could reduce seizure frequency. And what they found was that the administration of a ketogenic diet over a 12-month period resulted in a collection of side effects, including, but not limited to, dehydration, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, high triglyceride levels, high LDL cholesterol, hypoglycemia, and osteopenia. 67 children stopped the ketogenic diet within 6 months, despite the fact that there was a 50% or more reduction in seizure incidence. And that's a big deal. What this evidence suggests is that the central nervous system can certainly benefit from living in a state of ketosis for extended periods of time. However, there are two things to be aware of as we explore these benefits. The first is that many of the benefits of ketosis often coincide with rapid weight loss, reduced blood glucose, reduced triglycerides, reduced blood pressure, and you can achieve that via other lifestyle interventions that are less drastic. The second is that a ketogenic diet, despite its immediate benefits, can actually have some very negative side effects in the long term, as this paper demonstrated. Those side effects can also translate to increased liver insulin resistance, muscle insulin resistance, as well as increased LDL cholesterol, which is very important because it signals that there's a significantly increased risk for a future cardiac event. Now, let's explore some of the benefits. Now, the research world is now referring to type 3 diabetes as diabetes of the brain, or insulin resistance of the brain, because a significant body of research now shows that the human brain is negatively affected by the very same lifestyle that causes high blood glucose. There's been quite a bit of research done recently on the effect of ketones and on the advancement and incidence of Alzheimer's disease. And we actually wrote a very comprehensive article on the presence of brain insulin resistance and type 3 diabetes, which gives you a detailed overview of the research in this field. But the research isn't decisive on how ketone bodies affect these conditions directly, or if other factors are at play. Some research implies that ketone bodies themselves benefit the brain, while others imply that the short-term improved cardiovascular health provided by a ketogenic diet could be the main factor. Research suggests that the ketogenic diet may be quite problematic in patients with Parkinson's disease. A systematic review published in 2019 concluded that a ketogenic diet may actually be quite harmful for elderly patients for three main reasons: appetite reduction, leading to unwanted weight loss, reduced availability of essential nutrients, and GI disturbances. They wrote, the ketogenic diet leads to a reduced appetite. It is not attractive from an organoleptic point of view and may be accompanied by side effects of the gastrointestinal system. All this may lead to further lowering of consumed food portions by elderly persons with neurodegenerative diseases and, in consequence, to further reduction in the supply of nutrients provided by the diet. So, we go back to the original question. Are ketone bodies good brain fuel? The answer is yes and no. Yes, because in the short term, improvements in cognitive function can certainly occur. No, because almost all the benefits associated with ketosis only occur in the short term and they turn into long-term medical liabilities. If we take a broader perspective though, the answer to what's the best brain fuel is actually a no-brainer, pun intended, thanks to the long-term metabolic complications that a ketogenic diet often creates. Although a ketogenic diet definitely has some short-term benefits, including but not limited to, number 1, rapid weight loss, number 2, reduced blood glucose, number 3, reduced triglycerides, and number 4, reduced blood pressure. Ultimately, a ketogenic diet inhibits the action of insulin inside of your liver and inside of your muscle. And that, my friends, can set the stage for an increase in the risk of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes down the road over the course of many years. And with increased insulin resistance, there's no promise that these benefits, even if there are cognitive benefits in the short term, are going to stick around over the course of many years to come. And anecdotally, many people who adopt a ketogenic diet report that it's challenging to maintain the diet in the long term because it's extremely restrictive, and that often causes things like low energy, impaired digestion, increased cholesterol, brain fog, and weight gain. That's why we suggest that if you are an adamant supporter of a ketogenic diet, then it's better to try frequent intermittent fasting because it can still put you into a ketotic state, but it doesn't have the side effects of a high-fat diet. It's one way to safely and sustainably stimulate the production of ketone bodies by your liver. It promotes negative calorie balance and therefore weight loss. And the best part is that it reduces insulin resistance in both your liver and muscle, and that's a good thing for you because it can limit the side effects into the future. Now, intermittent fasting is a dietary strategy that uses periods of fasting to intentionally put you into a state of ketosis, and it doesn't require a high-fat diet, and that's good for you. So when you combine intermittent fasting with a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet, which is what we suggest, you can add the health benefits of eating more fruits and vegetables, and that can significantly improve your health in the long term. So think of it this way. If you use intermittent fasting in combination with a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet, you're effectively multiplying both the mental and the physical benefits of ketosis without any of the negative side effects that come along for the ride when eating a low-carbohydrate diet. So if you want to dive into it right now, there are phenomenal places to start. This video on the best foods and worst foods for diabetes is one that you can watch. And also another video that we created on how to lower your blood sugar immediately is another game changer. Now, if you want to become a master at reversing insulin resistance and lowering your risk for prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and becoming a master of insulin-dependent type 1 or 1.5 diabetes, then join a community of over 100,000 people that are doing this with you. You can either join a group coaching program or a private coaching program and take control of your metabolic health once and for all so that you can be sure to take advantage of all the tools that you have in your tool belt to maximize your health today and into the future. You can find out which option is best for you. All you have to do is get on the phone with somebody on our team and we'll help you navigate the entire process. Click the link in the description below and we will see you on the inside.